Welcome back to Inspired Afternoons, and it definitely is an inspirational one. Just speaking to Malana Arshad Fakir about the situation in Mitchell's Plain has made us think a lot. But going on to that type of thought, I think you need to see that it's not just here. There's many things happening around us that needs to be dealt with, and we need to, of course, empower and uplift. And this is one of the important things that we're going to be speaking about this afternoon. I'm going to be speaking to Sister Sumayya Omar. She's actually joined Africa Muslims Agency on their flight out to Lebanon for that giving a meal. And I think it's so important. Let's listen to the heart-wrenching story. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And thank you, Nafisa, for having me on your show. Not only did I go to Lebanon, but I also went to Afghanistan with a group of 4 ladies before Lebanon. So we flew out, we went to Afghanistan for a few days, and then we met the balance of the delegation in Lebanon for the More Than a Meal campaign, as well as the other campaigns of Africa Muslim Agency on the ground. And I just want to say on behalf of Africa Muslim Agency, as well as the ladies delegation, shukran so much for giving us this platform to advocate what is going on, to raise awareness of what is going on, and more importantly is to raise funds based on the awareness that I'm going to be sharing with you guys today for the More Than a Meal in Ramadan.
I think it's so important to see young people like yourself wanting to get involved. And this is what I've been talking about many a time. I always say it's imperative for young people to get involved, to be able to uplift and empower and realize the types of realities and situations. Because I'm sure growing up in the environments we all young people here in South Africa grow in is a little cocoon. And we don't realize the realities and the eventualities of certain things that are happening outside of that box.
And, going on a delegation as such, and on our delegation, in fact, we had younger girls than me from the ages of 21 and upwards, and realizing, and when we went into the refugee camps in Lebanon, Syria, with the Syrian and the Palestinian ones, we actually realized how Africa Muslim Agency puts perspective on what is going on and creates an understanding for all of us to understand the suffering that is going on. And I think it's so important that the youth actively engage in causes such as this, whether, not everybody has the opportunity to go on such delegations, but we have the opportunity to raise awareness. We have the opportunity to raise money towards the cause, and more importantly, to highlight the plight. Majority of the homes that we visited, whether it was in Afghanistan or in Lebanon, those that are afflicted are women and children. And those children, a majority of them are orphans. And this is the real situation on the ground. They are suffering. They are orphans. They do not have any dignity. They do not have any hope. And in our interviews with the children, in our sessions with the families, we ask them, what do you dream of? What do you hope for? We try to understand how More Than a Meal, the campaign that Africa Muslim Agency on the ground in more than 14 different countries, how can this More Than a Meal create a better life? And they all told me that, and this is what we realized, that the biggest insecurity that is affected, that everybody is going through in the 14 different countries, and as well as in the world, is food insecurity. And how More Than a Meal can provide not only dignity and hope, but it can give a child the ability to feel a child again. It can restore their hope of being children. It can give a mother, and this is what we've realized, is that More Than a Meal can give a mother the relief that she doesn't have to send her daughter out every day for less than $50 or less than $1 a day, knowing that she might be raped. And it gives her the sense of a relief that one meal a day will be provided in each home. Inshallah, that's what we hope for. So that this mother has the relief that, her family is protected. She is a mother. She is doing for her family. And this is why it is so important for the youth to understand, and more importantly, for our mothers and, our mothers and fathers out there to actively raise awareness about what is going on. And especially in Ramadan now, and, as the pictures are going through, this is in Lebanon, where we actually, on the first day, went to see the effects of the Beirut blast, and where we met Lebanese families that were affected by the blast, and how there's thousands of them that have actually been displaced from the blast. And, it's amazing. Lebanon is such an amazing, there's a population of 6 million people, of which 2 million are refugees, both Syrian and Palestinian.
Paint us the picture on the ground when you got there. What was the experience like for you? Having to look at the footage and the pictures was very heart-wrenching for me. I looked at it before, and I had to actually strengthen myself up for this interview, because I think those tears can't be held back. It's very sad to know that these are the types of situations that these young orphans are facing, and they have absolutely nobody to turn to. And last week when I spoke to Atia, she literally, explained to me, I watched a video with a little girl. Her dream was to eat a green apple, and it's something we so take for granted.
So I will talk about Afghanistan, and then I'll talk about Lebanon, because I went on both.
Okay, let's just quickly do Afghanistan, and then we're going to go for a break, and then we'll come back and do the rest.
So Afghanistan, what we realized and what we understood is that while the world is progressing, the humans are going backwards. And Afghanistan, when you land in Afghanistan, it's honestly in the 1900s. The people there are so backwards. The women and children, when we visited homes, each home we visited, we gave dignity packs, we gave relief packs. They didn't even know what is shampoo. They didn't even know what is a toothbrush. At some homes, we were brushing the teeth of the children, and they didn't even know how to gargle their mouth properly. So this is the situation, the women and children, and that's majority of the case. Most homes you go to, they are vulnerable and insecure. There are no men there. Children as young as 5 are working on the street selling packets for about 80 cents, or the young daughter. And the thing in Afghanistan.
Okay, Sumayya, we're going to quickly just go for a break, and we'll get back to you on that story.
Sure.
Ramadan is my month, and Ramadan is the month of my ummah. Increase your sadaqah to the communities of the Eastern Cape region of South Africa. A parent's lament due to the poor quality of food. The children wake up hungry in the middle of the night, and this bothers us. At times, we feel it would be better if someone adopted them so as to give them a chance in life. Donate your zakah or lillah to our feeding and skill upliftment programs. Our skill programs have made zakah recipients independent of zakah and allowed them to earn with dignity. Phone us at 041-484-1288 or visit our website at www.alfida.co.za. The Al-Fida Foundation, your social investment partner in the Eastern Cape.
Looking to cook delicious meals whilst trying to stay healthy this Ramadan? Try Sunfoil Pro Chef Canola Oil. It's high in omega-3 fatty acids and has a platinum endorsement from the Heart and Stroke Foundation. Sunfoil Pro Chef, the healthier choice. And know a secret? You can create delectable treats from your favorite bakery in your very own home this Ramadan. The best bakers know for the perfect decadent treat, they only use Wooden Spoon baking margarine. Wooden Spoon, the magic in baking.
DoosieMed Medicine Depot, retail pharmacy and emergency medical depot. Conveniently situated in the DoosieMed Medical Center, corner Burger and Boshoff Street, Pietermaritzburg. We provide safe, affordable and convenient medical facilities. Open till 10 p.m. every day of the year. We have a full house clinic that operates from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m., which is run by a qualified sister. The clinic offers immunization, vaccination, wellness, general consultation, and more. Call DoosieMed Medicine Depot on 033 3421 DoosieMed Medicine Depot, your pharmacy of choice.
The COVID-19 pandemic has impacted thousands.
We're now being told by our teams and staff on the ground that the situation is becoming quite dire there.
Who now face economic hardship and turmoil across all sectors.
The majority of South Africans are now a lot more concerned in terms of putting food on the table.
Penny Appeal's support to thousands of families in South Africa, Malawi, Zimbabwe, Yemen and Palestine has been possible thanks to your support.
One thing we've learned to make our intentions, decide that we want to make this difference.
Thousands more need our help in securing food to sustain their families. Feed our world with Penny Appeal to provide food security to communities in need. We are on the ground. Donate today towards a monthly food pack or breakfast daily to school-going children, or provide impoverished communities with sustainable vegetable gardens. Visit www.pennyappeal.org.za or call 031 1100 573. Penny Appeal. Small change, big difference.
Engaging conversations, inspirations, and more. This is the Nafisa Dango Show on Salam Media between 2 and 4 p.m.
Welcome back, and we're in conversation with Sumayya Omar, who was a volunteer with Africa Muslims Agency, of course, going to Afghanistan and Lebanon. Sorry, we cut off there talking about your situation with the Lebanese family and what it felt like. Paint that picture for us.
Sorry, can I just finish on the Afghan and then we go quickly to the Lebanese? There's one more thing, I actually want to highlight, is that what we realize in Afghanistan, and we actually met women and children who are married off at the age of 12, and women who were married off at the age of 12, and they, and this is the reality, is that they need to marry off their girls younger because it's one less mouth to feed. And, Afghanistan, the situation is very sad. And this is why Africa Muslim Agency and the campaigns on the ground really put into perspective what is going on. And this is why it's so important. And to those that are listening, I mean, we need to not only raise awareness, but now we have a goal. We need to provide, and during Ramadan, we need to feed villages. So whoever's listening, I urgently appeal to you to please sponsor, contact Africa Muslim Agency on their website if you would like to give towards feeding a village this Ramadan, or giving towards a family sponsorship or the orphanage program. Regarding Lebanon, I mean, Lebanon was unbelievable. The trip covered 3 parts: the Syrian refugees, the Palestinian refugees, as well as the Lebanese families that were affected by the bomb blast. And this is how the couple days went. And we moved from Syrian camps to Palestinian camps. And the Syrian refugees obviously are living there for the last 10 years since the outbreak of the war. And their refugee camps, they live in actual tents. Whereas the Palestinian situation is slightly different because they're there since the 1940s, and they almost live in compounds. But there are
Sumayya, we don't have sound there.
Do you have sound now?
Yes.
All right. So, with the Palestinians, what we realized and what we understood is how more than a meal, and giving the provision of one meal to a Palestinian, provides dignity to those that do not have an identity. And this is such a serious issue for the refugees because they basically live without a status. The refugees in Syria, and I mean the Syrian and Palestinian refugees, they don't have an identity, and this is so important. And this is why Africa Muslim Agency, their campaigns on the ground in Syria as well as in Palestine, in Lebanon for the Syrian and Palestinian, is so important because it gives them a sense of relief that there is a world out there that is fighting for their recognition through the provision of family sponsorships, feeding, etc.
Right. Sumayya, now that you're talking about that, I'd like to actually just play a video for our viewers to understand a little bit more about the situation happening on the ground there. So let's go ahead and play that video.
We're in Sadiqa's home, and more than a meal is really about coming to homes such as this, understanding the living conditions and circumstances of widows, of children. Sadiqa is here. She's the mother of 4. When asked the fundamental question and the simple and basic question of when did you last eat, Sadiqa says she ate yesterday morning and she boiled a potato. That's all she could afford to eat. Hunger and poverty has ravaged the people on this mountain of Kabul. A boiled potato more than 36 hours ago was her last meal. Yesterday morning, that's all she had to eat. She has 2 young boys. They're going out and trying to wash cars in order to bring money back in. It's an unfortunate circumstance. Her husband died 2 years ago in the war. However, he left this child, who he didn't know, behind with his other 3 children. Her little child who is on her lap, 2 years old and has not been weaned off of breast milk because she cannot afford to feed her food. At the end of our conversation and talking to her about the important things that make up her life, her great challenges, we realized that her eldest daughter, who is now 16 years old, no longer lives here because she was married at the age of 12. This, a norm in the society. She's been married for 4 years, and like her mother, Sadiqa, who got married at the age of 14 and is only now 30, More Than a Meal will give these children dignity. It gives them nourishment, and it allows you, the viewers, the supporters, and the donors, an opportunity to do so much more. Go to www.africamuslimimagency.co.za and support More Than a Meal.
Sumayya, and I think that's just one of the realities happening there on the ground. Paint us a picture about your experience and what stood out for you the most. There were so many stories. I think Atiya spoke to us about, the family of 8 and what it meant for her, and how heart-wrenching it was to actually walk in there and see the situation that young people like that are actually in.
You know, Nafisa, the thing is that as you go from home to home, whether it's in Afghanistan or Lebanon, you realize that there is a story in every home, and there's a cry for help, a need for it's desperate. They are desperate. And each home you go to, they're not asking for much. They're only asking for food. And this is why traveling both to Afghanistan and traveling to Lebanon, we realize more than ever that this is a human issue. This is a human struggle that we all need to realize. And this is why it is so important as humans, to not only understand, but identify with the cause and continue to support campaigns of African Muslim Agency, because this is a way, we cannot change the condition of everyone overnight. But through the provision of the campaigns off the ground within the 14 different countries, like in the video said, poverty and hunger. And I even met a Syrian, one of the days, I met a Syrian woman, and she told me, and she had just given birth and she was lying on the floor, and we didn't even know she had a baby huddled up, and she was recovering from a C-section. And she told me that this, it's like, she's a Syrian refugee, and she says hunger and poverty, they don't even know why they are victims to this. They cannot even understand it themselves as to why they are suffering. But this is their situation, and all they're asking is for food. When you ask a child, what do they dream of? They say food. As children, they're not even given the... Sorry, my daughter.
No, that's
as children, she just came back from sorry. So as children, they're not even given the opportunity to go to school. Some children in the refugee camps are born as refugees. When you go into the... Sorry, okay, I'm coming now, honey. Okay, I'm coming now, 2 minutes, Ma. Right, so,
okay.
Ma, so, even the Palestinians, we met Palestinians who have left Palestine in the 1940s and have actually been, and born into this refugee camps, and they've lived their lives, their entire lives as refugees, and they know nothing else because they're not even given rights or not even given a life outside the refugee camps. So this is what we realized, and this is what we came to understand, that this is a human issue. And this is why it is so important as Muslims, as South Africans, as whoever is listening out there, is that there are people who are afflicted throughout the entire world, and we need to, there is alarm ringing. I mean, we know that the Ummah is suffering. We have been on the ground, and part of the ladies, as part of the ladies delegation, we've seen the situation on the ground, and everybody has followed our story, and this is why we are urgently appealing to everyone to please contribute to our campaigns on the ground for African Muslim Agency. More importantly, the More Than a Meal campaign, because we saw what More Than a Meal can bring. It's not only about dignity, it's not only about hope, it's not only about nourishment, but it's allowing people to feel human again.
Yes,
for
and I
them,
understand what you're saying. It's about empowering them in some way,
of
giving
course.
them that empowerment that they've been looking for. And of course, the hope. Let's not forget the hope. That's the most important thing. Going through the footage that I saw last week and this week, to me, it felt as though at some point in their lives, they've actually given up hope because they felt as though there was nobody there to reach out to them. And I think with yourself and your team going out there, it was like these little angels that they were waiting for to come out, to be able to reach out to them and give them that hope and that, as you said, the dignity and the empowerment that they were looking for. And just looking at that picture says 1,000 words, because the smiles coming out of those faces, I think says a lot, with these little kids especially, to see it, to think that,
Nafisa,
yes,
sorry to just catch you there. This picture in particular was the first time, and that was in Afghanistan, and that was the first time we saw, and that was on our 40th, the first time we saw Afghan children smile. They actually don't know what it is to smile. They don't know what the feeling of smiling, and the only reason why they smiled, and they couldn't even process that was an opening of a borehole. And it was the first time in their life they were getting running water. Now in Kabul alone, only 20% of the population has access to clean water. I mean, there's other footage. It's complete. I mean, there's pollution everywhere. The families that live on the mountain, the majority of the people live on the mountains because it's cheaper. There's no clean water. There's no access to clean water. They drink sewage water. They actually drink sewage water. And that was the first time we saw children smiling. But we had met other children on our journey, and they just stared us blankly. We even asked their mothers, as children, what do they do in the day if they do not go to school? And they said they sit down. And we even met a child who had broken their leg, but the mother, obviously there's no medical attention there, so the mother had wrapped the foot up in newspaper. This picture is in the Syrian camps, and this is a Syrian camp. Let me put you into perspective into this Syrian camp. I tell you, the Syrian camp is close to Arsal. The ladies' delegation spent one night in Arsal. We were looking at the Syrian borders in front of us. You know, Nafisa, when I tell you, it's like you're smelling the Syrian air. It's so fresh, as if you are in Syria. But the reality is that these children were probably born in this refugee camp and will never be able to return. We met children who dreams are to go back in Ramadan. And, but all they're asking for is not even toys or to have a life or whatever. These children basically want food. They are so fixated on the fact that they need to eat that they cannot even feel children again. And this is why, on behalf of the ladies delegation, we came back to South Africa, and we are committed more than ever to raise awareness on their situation so that we can campaign towards the campaigns on the ground of African Muslim Agency so that we can create a better life for them in terms of building a future for them, building hope, like you mentioned. It is so, so important. And it's not only in Syria. It's not only in Lebanon. It's not only in Afghanistan. It's also in Africa. AMA projects are running through South Africa as well, all the different African countries, as well as Syria, Palestine, Rohingya. So this is why, I urge to all the listeners that are listening out there today, please log on to our website, www.African Muslim Agency. Take a look at the campaigns that we are running on the ground in more than the 14 different countries. And once again, Ramadan is important. We met a child in Lebanon. And we asked her, she spoke to us. And as a child, she was 9 years old. Her name was Zaina. And I don't know if Atia touched on this, but the same child that asked for peanuts. And I was actually listening to her video before this. And she said, Ramadan is a month of peace and blessing. As a child, she was telling us, Ramadan is a month of peace. And she said, please support us poor people, because supporting us poor people gives us an opportunity to build our future. And that's why she said it's so important to even support us, because it gives us hope to build our future, even though we might not have food, even though we might not have access to clothes, whatever. But this is their message to the world, that we must continue supporting them. Even the Palestinian refugees, when we spoke to them, we asked them, even those that had the chance to leave and get asylum and go, they said this is their plight. They will continue. They want our support. They want us to provide for them just a meal. They are not asking for anything, just food security. And they will continue because this is their plight, and they will continue. And even in Afghanistan, the message is the same. The women and children, the widowers who are most vulnerable and insecure, the widowers and the youth. I mean, the percentage, there's 2.5 million orphans in Afghanistan. Of this,
Sure.
only 3,000 have the opportunity, to be in orphanages. The population of Afghanistan is 34 million. There is only one pediatric hospital in the entire Afghan. I mean, can you imagine one pediatric hospital? We visited this hospital and we were shocked because there is 3 children on one bed. And we couldn't even understand it. We were even wondering whether, they had the proper healthcare facilities or whatever. And, and as the days were going by, but whether it was in Afghanistan or Lebanon, the stories were getting worse. The situation on the ground was becoming more apparent that there is a desperate need for the international community to support, to raise awareness, and obviously contribute through African Muslim agencies on the ground.
Right. Sumayya, what did this mean for you? We seem to be running out of time. Very quickly, what did this mean for you?
Yes. For me, when I got to Afghanistan, I realized that, and I honestly commend African Muslim Agency as well as the teams throughout the entire world. It meant so much to see that there are groups actively on the ground caring for the people and providing hope. And it was such a bold move to send a ladies delegation first to Afghanistan. It was the first ladies delegation sent from South Africa. And, with that being said, it means that there is a spark ignited in South Africa now that we've been, and we are just tools and a voice to advocate the human struggle that is happening in the world. And this is what it means for me. It means that I have come back to South Africa, and I will continue to speak about those who have lost their voice and those that struggles have forgotten, and obviously raise awareness so that we can raise enough funds to create a difference for everybody else.
Perfect. Jazakallah so much for sharing your experience with us. I think it was imperative that people get the real perspective. That's what we'll call it. We wish you all the successes going forward. You definitely have the Salam Media team's support as far as this is concerned. It's imperative that we, of course, make we make a difference and empower in many directions. Jazakallah so much. Wishing you all the best and a blessed Ramadan. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam. Shukran.
Only a pleasure. That was, of course, Sumayya Omar giving us an insight into her experience in Lebanon and what it meant for her with the ladies delegation out of African Muslims Agency. Stay with us. We're going to be back with something really interesting.